So it's the Godolphin Mile, race number 2. I'm going to be a bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Not diplomatic, because it's definitely not controversial, I'd say. And so I actually think this is one of the worst Godolphin Miles I've seen in the last few years. Don't think it's that strong a race. I'm gutted. One of my favourite horses in the UAE Barbecue Eddie is drawn 16, because I think if he was drawn low, he actually would have a realistic chance. From 16, he's probably running for a place unless everything goes right. Although if you remember a couple of years ago when Ty rode him, he was stone last turning for home, and I only remember because Fox Hunter won on that night. One gave me a very good double, 25 to 1 the night before. But he was stone last and come and won that night, but we expected him to have to lead. So he can come from behind, but it's not the toughest race. Gary, anything you're going to tell me that I don't know about this race, and pick a winner for me?
Well, I'm a surfer here. Obviously was denied a run here on World Cup night last year, and this year he's improved out of all recognition. He won his maiden at the start of the year, and he won that condition race as well. Second in round 2 of the Al Maktoum Challenge, when it looked as though the stamina just began to give away over that sort of trip, and that was certainly the case in round 3 when he actually led at the top of the home straight.
But you've also got to look at it that everybody is very keen on Hunter's Light for the World Cup.
Yeah,
and he hasn't been beaten far by Hunter's Light over what we think is maybe, well I think, maybe a trip a little bit too far for him. It's very good form. So how can one be sort of 7-2, 4-1 for the toughest race of the evening, and then you've got the other one in a relatively brief race? Is well, now 10 plus 12.
Yeah,
it seems a very big price.
It certainly does to me, and you know he'd be the one that I'm keen. You've got to look at some of these Godolphin horses a little bit more closely. I think the fact that they're running African Story in the World Cup, they must surely think that one of these is going to run a big race. I don't think it will be Alpha. Moonwalking Paris has got a wretched draw, though in some ways that actually might help in the way that when he won here.
Is he going to be able to come up the rail in this race and knock 4 horses out of the way while doing it?
He'll have to knock more than that over to get
yeah,
to the rail.
He'll probably have to.
Well, they only ever had 1 horse placed from 15 and
Yeah.
16, so, and that was in a wretched maiden.
But they also didn't run 16 before this year.
True. Well, of the 5 races we
Limited,
had this year, there's been, like I say, just 1 horse placed from 15 or 16, and that's plenty. You was in one of the worst maidens we've had all season. So I'm against Soft Falling Rain. He's in 13 again as well, but I think this probably isn't the strongest. I think this is certainly a lot tougher than the 2 races he's won thus far this season. The Godolphin horse that half interests me is Time Prisoner, who's up in trip. Okay, he won on turf here at the Carnival earlier on in the campaign. He was never near a fourth in that race over 1200 metres. He was keeping on okay. Okay, he has to prove himself slightly at the trip, but he has actually won over it in France. So I think he could be the each way caller. I think in a race, as you point out, I don't think we'll take much winning.
No.
I will not so respectfully disagree with you that this is not a good race. We've, at least off a rough count, 3 Group 1 winners in the Godolphin Mile. I just don't remember that recently. And 1, 2, 3, 5, 8 Group Stake horses that are in this race. Half the field, I believe, and most of them very recently. I think it's a fascinating race tactically. This is the first time in the history, the 17 years that this race has been run, that there's a 3-year-old. It's never happened before. There's never been a 3-year-old in this race. And from November, Mike DeCock said, I have distance questions about Soft Falling Rain. I don't think he'll see out the Derby trip. And I think Godolphin Mile.
Yeah.
So a horse who is the anti-post favorite internationally, who's been pointed to this race for a long time, is doing something that has never been done before. And it's a massive question, especially as we'll see when we analyze the UAE Derby, that I don't think that this race, that the local 3-year-olds have been any good. Soft Falling Rain's been the only one of any substance. So
that's what worries me about it, because he hasn't beaten much.
I was on Moonwalk in Paris when he won the Firebreak, and there was really one big factor. Godolphin bought at public auction for 300,000 plus euro a gelding who basically is a 7 furlong to 1 mile all-weather specialist.
Yeah.
They bought a Godolphin Mile horse. I don't know what Ahmed Ejtebi was doing, and perhaps he just, bollocks the ride, but to go and run with the pace, and he actually stayed on incredibly well.
Yeah.
I really liked Moonwalk in Paris in that race. I think it was a bad run. I give him a chance. I think the draw is actually going to help him try and settle a little bit. Barbecue Eddie has been helped by the draw, in my opinion. He did his best running early in the year from well off the pace. When they ran him a little more forward to mid-pack, not as hot. But when it comes down to it, Surfer has the plum draw. He's traveled extra ground. He's on the cutback. He'll save ground from this spot. And I think Satish Seemar gets his first win in the World Cup meeting.
Mark?
I'm going for an English trained horse. I think it's got a bit of a chance. David O'Meara trains Penitent, and is in very, very decent form at the end of last year. A good second to Gordon Lord Byron, who will come on to later. I just think he's in real good form coming into this season. Won a Group 2 at Newmarket. He's not a very good price at the moment, but it's because he is fancied. But I like that. I think it's about time the Brits actually had a winner on World Cup Day, so that's my hope for that race.
Okay, two things is obviously we've all ignored Mike de Kock's horses, and you were talking about Group 1 and Group 2 horses. Master the Hounds has one on the track and has got form, so you'd have to throw him in the mix. Barbecue Eddie, for me, I agree, coming from behind, and you have to throw out the last run. The horse wasn't right, he was sweating up in the ring before the race. Throw out the last run. He is the horse with the form to beat going into the race. You can't argue with what you're saying about Moonwalking Paris, although I don't think in a 16-runner race he's going to be able to do what he did, and I don't think some of the jockeys will let him do what he did last
Work
time
out the speed map here, though. Alpha drawing the rail, that American gate speed, he's got to burn. Capital Attraction's going to come from the outside. He has to go on with it and pick it up. Red Jazz is a horse that goes forward as well. So I think that there's a really good possibility that by the time they get through the first 400, that the field is really angled down into maybe packs of 3.
Yeah.
And that you get Barbecue Eddie and maybe Moonwalk in Paris, if he's ridden more patiently, held up, could come on with a run. But I don't think there's any way you're going to see Moonwalk in Paris on the rail. So who do you envision? Surfer won't be as close on the cutback, so I expect him to sit mid-division. Just needs to split.
Okay, let's have a tips, Mark.
Definitely number 7, Penitent. Number 11, sorry, Penitent.
Pass.
Surfer on top, Hafek each way.
Interesting. Gary?
Surfer and I think Time Prisoner's probably overpriced.
I think Surfer's massively overpriced. I think Surfer could be, as you said, Satish's first winner, and having not got in last year because it was a maiden, just finished second in a group race.
Travelling 5 wide the trip.
Yeah. I hope he wins, just to sort of say to people, stop leaving good horses out of the night. Not mentioning Kilrock.